Comes as the Biden administration unveiled a new nuclear bomb. They're saying it's the most powerful one that we have seen so far. Now, if this were detonated, you can see the blast radius, and they're showing this in New York, so you can see how far this would spread. Now, within the first about half a mile, they're saying that anybody in the vicinity would be vaporized along with buildings, and then extending beyond that for miles, there would be a blast of radiation. There would also be a smoke plume, and the effects of this would be devastating. And you can see the extent of which it would reach. If this were to hit New York, it would reach all the way up to New Brunswick. Now, if a full-scale nuclear attack were to take place, if Russia were to launch these, it would immediately notify the United States, and we would launch back, trying to block them. However, there are so many that would take place, it is very unlikely that this could be stopped. Now, these would likely not only go for their targets, but defense areas and also for allies, so expect that Europe and other nations would be hit as well. Now, the first indication that nuclear war would be happening would be an EMP taking place. One of these would detonate in the air, knocking out all electrical signals and essentially bringing down defenses. Then the nuclear weapons would come in and they would hit their targets, causing massive devastation in those areas. Now, as these missiles fly across the globe, they could take half an hour up to an hour to hit their targets, but when they finally make impact, there will be a heat equivalent to that of the sun that would vaporize those within a half a mile. The intensity of the heat would be so great that the asphalt of the streets would turn into liquid lava. And those not vaporized that are too close to the blast will also be blinded by its brightness and likely caught on fire. But as I mentioned, that's not the worst part. If you actually survive the blast, the worst part is the nuclear winter that's going to be coming from the black carbon smoke pillars that will come from these detonations. Now, the carbon from the blast, the smoke, it would cover the earth, it would raise above the rain clouds, so it would be unable to wash out, and it would likely sit upon the face of the earth for over a decade. This would block out the sun and the moon, and it would cause a nuclear winter, and the temperature of the earth would likely decrease by around 40 degrees Fahrenheit all over. This would also destroy the ocean, destroy our crops, and it's likely that 99% of the population that survived the blasts would not make it due to starvation. Now, the explosions that took place in Hiroshima were extremely powerful. However, the weapons that we are seeing today are multiple times more powerful and would cause much more devastation. So if this takes place, there are no real winners. It is essentially the end of the vast majority of mankind, and those that do survive would have to somehow figure out how to
Alright, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today is November 20th, 2023, Missile Monday. And today, the clip I featured was from, the elder brother Amawan Gabar and the GMS New York camp. Pretty much you had that guy, talking about what would happen if a nuclear attack were to happen in America, but that's going to happen. And he pretty much talked about, Russia attacking America, which again, that's ultimately what's going to happen. World War III is ultimately going to be between America and Russia, Gog, Magog, the bear versus Babylon the Great, and it's prophesied that Babylon will be destroyed by fire, So I also have this article, and it's from the Mirror, and it says, Vladimir Putin to test unstoppable Satan II doomsday missile inflicts against the West. So keyword, they have unstoppable, so meaning nothing is going to be able to stop these missiles that Russia is developing, going back to the book of Joel 2, which I'm going to get, but before I go into this article, I just want to start with the book of Malachi, chapter 4 and verse 1. And it says, For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. So that's what's coming. World War III is coming, and nothing is going to be able to stop it. It's inevitable. It's going to happen, regardless if people want it to or not. But again, before World War III happens, the one of the most important prophecies, the one being the Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16, the mandatory implementation of the mark of the beast, which is the RFID micro CHIP. That device has to be made mandatory before this war can happen officially. So I'm gonna play this clip. If it will allow me. All right. Of course, get the ad. Slack you. And I don't know what happened to the other clip, but pretty much, again, that's pretty much Russia testing that Satan II missile. So, I'm going to read, this article. It says, it's like if Vladimir Putin is to test the world's biggest ballistic missile, Satan II, by flying it over the South Pole, revealing a shocking report by Russian state media, which was rapidly censored. The dictator is determined to flex his nuclear muscle to the west and will put his first regiment to be armed with the Apocalypse 208-ton intercontinental nuclear weapon on combat duty next month. This is despite an astonishing admission that the unstoppable 15,880 mile per hour Doomsday missile system, the size of a 14-story tower block. Lord, man. So in other words, this missile is 14 is as tall as a building. It says, known as Sarmat in Russia, is not properly tested. So, man, again, they're letting you know that this is pretty much the largest nuclear weapon in the world, and it's as fast as it's damn near 16,000 miles. It travels at, damn near 16,000 miles, man. So, again, the Lord isn't playing, man. The Lord is not playing. Says Putin's own state news agency, TASS, reported that even a truncated LCI flight development test, and assuming all launches are successful, would require several more launches, including via the South Pole. This claim over the South Pole was hastily censored from the report, but remains in cached versions. But it is likely to trigger deep alarm in the West as Putin prepares to deploy a rocket designed to be his ultimate nuclear strike weapon against NATO countries. Yet one which appears to have so far had only one successful test flight across Russia. The 1st Sarmat Regiment, consisting of a command post and several silo launchers, will go on combat duty as part of the Uzher missile formation of the Strategic Missile Forces in December of this year. A defense source also told Russian state news agency TASS in part of the story that was not redacted. The regiment is already on experimental duty. It's like experimental combat duty in the Krasnoyarsk region of Siberia, said another source. Says yet the first source admitted tests of the Putin fifth generation missile are behind schedule and have not yet been completed. An embarrassment for the autocrat. Only one fully confirmed successful test is known. In April 2022, now development tests of the missile will continue even as its combat post and launch silos are put on combat duty and the Krasnoyarsk or Yarsk region of Siberia. Said TASS reported the Sarmat flight tests are completely being carried out from the Plesetsk spaceport, but it's like a spaceport to the Kura training ground in Kamchatka, but ultimately Putin will need to test his nuclear toy by flying it over the South Pole, the story suggested, but it was censored. The monster hypersonic missile is designed to strike the West by flying over the North or South Poles, making it impossible to strike down by air defenses, man. Come on, man. And this is what it's talking about in Joel 2. Like, nothing is going to be able to stop these missiles, man. The U.S. can develop whatever missile systems they want, but ultimately it's not going to stop these missiles, man. Nothing is going to stop them. It's like, I'm going to read a little bit more and then bring out the scriptures. I'm not sure because I kind of lost. All right here. This is heavy, man. Yeah, I was going to read the rest of it. It says Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said last month that the Makayev Missile Design Bureau in Mayas was solving the task of equipping the first missile regiment with the Sarmat complex at the main facility of Strategic Missile Forces. He inspected the production line. Putin last month insisted that his designers have finished work on the Sarmat super heavy missile, already more than a year behind schedule. He said, we just need to finish some of the procedures in a purely administrative and bureaucratic way and move on to mass production and put them on combat duty, Putin said. And we will do this in the near future. 11 months ago, he said much the same. In the near future, Sarmat ICBMs will be put on combat duty for the first time. He said at the time, we know there will be a certain delay in time, but this does not change our plans. Says the Sarmat Satan II complex is due to replace the Voyvoda or Satan missile, which has been in service since the 1980s. R-36M2 Voyvoda missile was tested no less than 17 times in the Cold War before it was put on combat duty. So far, only one Sarmat Satan II test is confirmed, yet Putin evidently intends to send it over the pristine South Pole. So yes, man, you have Russia, still testing their missiles. You still have these other countries. France is even testing their missiles. Iran. You have these other nations that are testing their nuclear weapons, man, because they're getting ready for war. Because that's what's coming. World War III is coming. Nothing, as it said, is going to be able to stop these Satan II missiles. So I'm going to go to the book of Revelation, chapter 11, and verse 14, and it says, "The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly." So yes, World War III is coming, and it's coming quickly. But again, the prophecy of the mark of the beast being made mandatory still has to come to pass before this war can take place, because again, that is still a major prophecy that has to come to pass first, But again, this is just what's on the brink, World War III. And then again, in that first video, pretty much again, what that man described is pretty much what's being spoken of in the book of Joel, So before I bring that out, when it comes to the book of Isaiah, chapter 54 and verse 16, and it says, "Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, that bringeth forth an instrument for his work, and I have created the waster to destroy." And again, it's going into those ICBM missiles, and you have, those scientists, being those smiths, that are creating these weapons to be used, during this war, and then this is also not going to be a conventional war. Now you will have, troops going to war with each other, but ultimately, this war is going to be fought via nuclear missiles, So this is the book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5, and it says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but it shall be with burning and fuel of fire." So yes, this scripture is letting you know that this third world war is going to be fought with nuclear missiles, It's not going to be with, hand-to-hand combat, men. Now again, you will have men that are going to get shipped off to the Middle East, over there in Saudi Arabia, if not Saudi Arabia, somewhere in that region, where these nations are going to be going to war with each other, but ultimately it's going to be, by way of, nuclear weapons. So this is the book of Joel, chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 1. And it says, "Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord cometh, for it is nigh at hand. A day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness, as the morning spread upon the mountains, a great people and a strong. There hath not been ever the like, neither shall there be any more after it, even to the years of many generations." So yes, again, that man pretty much described once those missiles are launched, or he's pretty much describing, the aftermath of when they're launched, because again, you're going to have a lot of nuclear fallout, but even then, the sun and the moon, are going to be blotted out, because like it says, it's going to be a day of clouds and thick darkness, so it's going to be dark, These missiles are going to blot out the sun and the moon, because that's how many is going to pretty much cover the sky, It's going to be that many. And even, the smoke is going to, blot out the sun and the moon, man. It's going to be devastating. So verse 3, it says, "A fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame burneth. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, and nothing shall escape them. And yes, pretty much again, just like Vladimir Putin said, nothing is going to be able to stop these missiles, nothing. Because once they're launched, that's pretty much it, People are going to have, at least, 30 minutes before those missiles get here, because that's, they're going to be traveling so fast, just like it says, that Satan II missile is going to be traveling at almost 16,000 miles per hour, So it's not going to take that long for it to reach America from Russia, Verse 4, the appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen, so shall they run. Like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap. Like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Behold, their face, the people shall be much pained, and all faces shall gather blackness. So a lot of these people that pretty much remain, after Jacob's trouble, or pretty much Jacob's trouble is still going to be going on, but pretty much the people that remain, during that time, they're going to see these missiles coming, They're not going to be able to do anything. They're pretty much going to watch their death, coming. Verse 8, and it's pretty much, one of the main points I want to bring out. It says, neither shall one, I skip. Verse 7 says, they shall run like mighty men, they shall climb the wall like men of war, and they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. And pretty much, you're not going to have missiles bumping into each other, and knocking one off course or anything like that, it's not going to happen. In verse 8 says, neither shall one thrust another, they shall walk every one in his path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded. So yes, it even said that these Satan II missiles are unstoppable. So, no missile defense system is going to be able to stop it. So the U.S. can try to shoot these missiles down, but ultimately it's not going to stop them. It's going to bounce right off of them and keep going, Because again, the Spirit of the Lord is going to be in these weapons as well, So again, just like it says in that article, nothing is going to be able to stop them. And just like in Joel 2 and 3, it says nothing shall escape them, man. The only way to be able to escape these missiles is to be delivered by way of the chariots to go upwards. That's the only way. People think, these bunkers that they buy, are going to save them, or nothing. Nothing is going to save you during that time, save the elect, of the nation of Israel. They're going to be delivered from this destruction, but the people that are left here in America, they're pretty much doomed during that time, They're going to be wiped out. Verse 9, it says, they shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall quake before them. The moon, the heavens shall tremble. The sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. And the Lord shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord is great and very terrible. Who can abide it? And yes, only the elect of the nation of Israel is going to be delivered from this destruction that the Lord is going to bring upon, primarily Babylon the Great, which is America. Anyone that's left over here, they're going to be burned up, but only the elect of the nation of Israel is going to make it, And then again, let's go to back to verse 9, like it's like verse 8. And then look at that word sword, because again, this is what it's talking about, because a brother, had pointed this out, at camp, a couple months ago. And this is Strong's H7973. And it says, Shalach, says weapon, missile. It says sprout, but weapon, missile, nothing is going to stop them. This is the sword, This is part of the Lord's army, these nuclear missiles, Man, this is a very serious time that we're about to come into, man, because the Lord, like he's not joking. He's not effing around. He is getting ready to wipe this place off the map, So I'm going to end it on this. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 9 and verse 15. No, it's Lakia. Before I read that, I'm going to go to Revelation 7 and verse 1. And it says, And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. So yes, you pretty much have 4 angels holding back that, holding back that destruction, because again, there's a set time when these things are going to take place, So coming back to the book of Revelation 9 in chapter 15, and it says, and the 4 angels were loosed. So these angels are going to be loosed, they're pretty much going to unleash that destruction, at that appointed time. So it says, and the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men, because you have 3 classes of men. You have the sons of God, the Israelites, the 12 tribes from Judah all the way down to Issachar. You have the sons of men, which are the other heathen nations, and you have the sons of the wicked, which would be Esau, Edom, so-called white people, because that's ultimately who this destruction is for, 2/3 of the nation of Israel and these other nations that are left over here, they're pretty much going to be collateral damage, 2/3 are going to be put to death, because they're wicked. But, the other heathen nations that are here, they're just here to die, pretty much. Verse 16, it says, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000. And I heard the number of them, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these was the 3rd part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which issue out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth and their slakia and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. So yes, once these missiles are launched, there's going to be so many, 200,000, 200 million missiles, really the warheads, because these missiles can carry multiple warheads. I think, if I can remember, if not the Satan II, there was a submarine, that they have over there in Russia. If not Russia, I forget. Yeah, it may have been Russia, but they have a missile that can hold up to 7, I think it says 7 warheads, and they had about 14 of these missiles or something like that, so that's pretty much going to be, those, that's pretty much the part of the missile that does the damage, the warhead, because once they're launched, they're going to be launched into space. They're going to leave the ozone layer and get their specific targets, their specific trajectory. Then they're going to come back down to Earth on fire, because they're going to be traveling, faster, because they're going to come down faster than they went up. It's like if you throw a ball in the air, it's going to come back down faster than when it went up into the air. Then again, the heads like lions, that's describing again those warheads coming back down to the earth on fire. And then them having tails like serpents, that's their rocket system that is going to be propelling them to hit their specific targets. So again, man, the Lord is pretty much still stirring up Russia to get ready to take America out, because again, Russia is going to be the one to destroy America. Now, again, you do have, Russia's allies and even, the NATO nations that are going to turn on America, and shoot their missiles. But the primary country that is going to come up against this place is Russia, the bear. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I see you. Shalom.